Hello, this is Fairy Garden Startup. My name is Sandra Rosenaw. I'm a Master Gardener with the Benton Franklin County Extension Service. When you make a fairy garden, it's nice to be able to populate them with fairy babies. So I will tell you today how to make a fairy baby. Here's an example of a fairy baby in a walnut shell. This is a little boy baby because he has his little baseball cap. So the supplies you'll need would be a walnut shell, a half shell, which you can get at grocery stores in the autumn. You can also use silk flowers to make the wings. So you can use the silk petals from the flowers or the leaves that you can get with the silk flowers. You'll need some string or some yarn, about 10 inches. And if you want to make a little cap, pistachio nuts work really well. For the body of the fairy baby, this is a pussy willow. I go out in the spring and I collect pussy willows when they're about 3/4 of an inch or an inch long. For the fairy baby head, I use these wooden beads that you can get at any craft store, and they come in a diversity of colors. These are 10mm wooden beads. So here's some examples just that I set up a moment ago. Fairy baby heads. This little fairy has a little cap that's made of a tiny silk flower. This one also has a little cap made out of a silk flower. And this one has hair made out of cotton. So you will need either some cotton or a substance called wool roving for the fairy bed itself. So let's start putting this together very quickly. Take your walnut shell. Oh, not to forget, of course, the tacky glue, which works really well for this project, and you'll use a lot of it. So you fill your walnut shell with plenty of your tacky glue and get it up on the sides, and then you'll need about 10, maybe 12 inches of your yarn or your twine. I usually braid it to make it stronger, but I didn't do that this time. And what you're going to do is, this is your hanger. You're going to stuff the yarn down into the glue and put it in there really thoroughly so that it will hold. And yes, your fingers will get covered with glue. Once you've got your yarn in place, then you're going to have to put in a wisp of cotton or wool roving, and this is going to be the baby's bed. And you just stuff that in there, and of course the glue is going to keep it in place. Now we're ready to make our baby. You set up ahead of time how you want the wings to look, and you choose your fairy baby head and headgear, whether it's a hat or hair. I think I'll use this beautiful little one here. She needs a body, so you use your tacky glue. And there's actually a tiny little point on the pussy willow, and you put that point, I didn't get quite enough glue here. You put the point into the hole of the bead. There you go. So now we have a beautiful little baby all bundled up in her pussy willow. So the next thing you're ready to do is to make the wings. You'll need more glue. Set the wings in place. A little more glue. Put the petals. And you can shape it any way you want. A little more glue, and we're going to put in our little fairy baby, and there she is. You'll need to wait a couple of hours for her to dry. I usually just leave them overnight. Make sure that the carrier is positioned correctly so that it'll be balanced, and there you go. So today's lesson wasn't about plants, but it was about what you can do with plant materials. And once you've got your fairy baby, of course, you can hang him up in your garden. I will warn you, however, as this happened to me, that squirrels also like fairy babies. I had a squirrel that came on my deck and took a fairy baby right out of my fairy garden. So just be warned. Also, these are not going to hold up well to the weather, so I don't leave my fairy babies outside anymore. So happy gardening, and I hope you have fun with fairies.